Gyaviira, it's a pleasure having you on Spectrum.
Good evening, my brother Ken. I'm happy to be here once again to discuss these national issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much for creating time to be here. I began this show by stating that, broadly speaking, people think that you people in the opposition, make a lot of noise, but never provide alternatives. And would like to hear from you. You received the national budget speech. You've
Yes.
taken time to look at it. You provided resources to not only critique, but also to come up with the alternative budget. Very quickly, before we get deeper into what you intend to offer, what is your take about the 2026-2027 national budget as presented by the Minister of Finance?
Yeah, thank you. The national budget that was read for the financial year 26-27 presents a largely bloated budget, to be sincere with you. And if you saw how we struggled to even finish the year that we are finishing now, that is 2025-2026, you wouldn't imagine that governments had to come up again with even an even bigger budget. I remember the approved budget for 2025-2026 was around 72 trillion. And I know that by the time we are finishing the year, it is much higher than that. It's around 81 point something trillion, which also already indicates fiscal indiscipline, to say the least. But you know that Ugandans have been struggling to finance that 72 trillion budget. So in essence, we would have expected that instead of struggling to find more sources of funds from all corners, then we would first of all think about cutting these extravagant expenditures and all this where we can save money so that we release some of this pressure that Ugandans are finding to finance this budget. Yeah. So in our view, as the opposition, we actually thought that around 71 trillion could actually be sufficient to fund. I mean, to prop our economy for the next financial year, and we presented a budget on around, I think, 7th April 2026.
The alternative budget.
The alternative budget. So you started by saying people are complaining that sometimes we are too critical of what the government is doing, but we are not providing solutions or alternatives. But we have already come up with the alternative proposals, which we thought that if taken, this country would stand to get saved from some of these pressures, especially where we have to borrow left and right to finance these huge expenditures. Yet some of them can be avoided. So in our view as the opposition, we think this is a bloated budget. And when you look at how the government is planning to finance this budget, then you even get more and more sad about the situation that is about to befall Ugandans.
Why? Let's look at the sources of the funding. There is
Yes.
domestic revenue, 45.9 trillion shillings. That includes the tax revenues that are going to be collected by Uganda Revenue Authority. There's domestic borrowing of 11.9 trillion shillings. There's external budget support, 11.27 trillion shillings. And of course, there will be borrowing from, abroad to be able to finance key projects.
Yes. Let's begin from the taxes, for example. You are aware that the cost of living is already too high, and the drivers of the economy, these items that drive the activities in the economy, like the fuel, is skyrocketing. But they are telling you that it is still, they will still have to levy this approved tax proposal of 500 shillings, 200 shillings
per liter. They have already approved that.
They have already approved, and they are determined to levy
collect.
To collect it. And so many others where Ugandans are about to feel the pinch of the taxes. So when you look at the taxes and the sources that the government has earmarked, you know that Ugandans must now, I think, brace up for this kind of...
So you wouldn't tax those areas? There's fuel, there is land, transfer of land, there registration of borders. And
some of the items, it is okay, but there are these items that touch directly the human life and the activities, affect the activities directly, like fuel. We would be seeing, because by the time they announced these tax levies that are going to be affected by
1st July.
By 1st July. For instance, a liter of oil, a liter of fuel was around 4,000 or thereabout, 4,500, 4,300, and so on and so forth. But now, as we talk, even before that tax comes, it is already between 7,000 and 8,000 in some cases. And then it is also scarce. We don't see, on some of these petrol stations, you reach there and the fuel is not there.
Probably they thought the Middle East conflict would be short-lived and the prices would go down.
Actually, what they told us was that we have buffer stocks that can be released to actually cushion the period.
It was for 2 months
of the crisis.
2 months. I think they didn't anticipate that the crisis would go this long.
The 2 months was for the stocks that were available, but also they had assured us that there were
fuel reserves,
but there were also consignments that were coming in. And the minister assured us that there will not be any crisis. So, before you even go there, our take of the revenue collection here, we think that if we looked at the budget, the expenditure side, and looked at some of these items that we consider to be avoidable or to wait, then we would release some of the pressures by charging less taxes or even having to stay some taxes on some items.
But the other issue, before we go to that, let's probably look at tax reforms, because it's a duty of every citizen to pay their taxes.
Yes.
Beyond taxing the fuel and the areas that are highlighted in the budget, in the tax measures presented,
yes.
Do you think there are other places that the government can probably innovate to be able to collect taxes as the alternative? Are there any suggestions you have in that regard?
You see, it is an all-round effect. It is a cyclic effect. If the economy is not doing well, you cannot expect to collect taxes. Now, look what is happening in the real sense. The Uganda Revenue Authority has a tax register of about 5 million taxpayers. And out of this, over 5 million, about 5.3, 5.4. And out of this, 5 million individuals, and about 240 something are non-individuals. Companies. Now, out of the 5 million that are registered to pay taxes, only about 1.7 million are active. And out of those, only about 1 million is actually complying to the fullest. So meaning that there is already a problem with the tax collection. And that's why you saw that in the speech, the minister announced that they have even extended the waivers for these people, the tax defaulters. They had set a deadline of June 2026. Now they have extended it to June 2027. So that one tells you that there's already a problem with the taxes being collected. You see, we have plastic figures that are being presented to us, and then there are those realities behind the curtains that we may not interact with. But when you put these bits and pieces together, then you start making conclusions. The economy is in the hands of about 1,000 Ugandans, who call them companies, but let's say Ugandans. Just 1,000 like this are the ones who are holding the economy in their hands. If you went downtown here, you find that people are struggling. There is a team or a group or a club of tenants, of landlords. Just about 10 or so people who are holding the whole Kampala at ransom.
What do you mean at ransom?
Yes, because you know that people are losing their business every other day over rent increases, rent charged in dollars and unfairly demanded. Somebody is required to pay an upfront deposit of 6 to 12 months. And where on earth are you going to find businesses that can cushion that kind of expenditure on rent? So, and government is just looking on. Yet, if you managed to have to protect these tenants who are doing business in town, then more and more taxes would be paid. But tax defaulting is the order of the day,
okay.
And that's why government would resort to those easier means of borrowing.
All right.
But now it is a catch-22. Before you leave that point, I'm trying to now relate it to the other effects.
All right.
We said the government is planning to borrow internally. Now, you are borrowing internally. These people who are being squeezed with rent, who are running around for some small loans, are going to start competing with government, because government is now emphasizing more internal borrowing than external financing because of the pressures the development partners have put on us because of our human rights violations and the poor record of human rights, whatever.
Thanks to you, you're the ones who have been campaigning abroad.
Yes.
To bring those unfair things to our country.
They are fair because even you'll benefit if this government stops torturing people. Or you could still think we are the problem who cry out for help. And until when they get to you, I know that even the media personnel is not safe.
All right.
Until when they get to you, then you'll know that yes, we needed to call for help.
All right, let's go back to the austerity measures. You were saying that there's wasteful expenditures where
yes.
we can get money and sort of relieve the taxpayers. Can you point out some of the areas? The government has stepped forward, for instance, by saying no more spending on public functions. That's a bold step that they have taken.
Yes, we would urge them to move further towards that direction and also stop these other wasteful expenditure like donations, like the unexplained classified budget where money is sinking, like it is sinking in an endless pit. These projects that are being funded without accountability. In our second sitting, the Speaker requested the clerk to Parliament to produce a report about the progress of constructing that parliamentary building.
I'm looking.
There are many other projects where we are sinking money without necessarily producing the results that are expected.
Talking about donations, I'm thinking even your budget in Parliament as Speaker, even as the law, even the Deputy Speaker, you are all planning to donate. I wonder, but why are you opposed to donations? Because one would argue and say the leader is giving back to the community.
No, the leader has to be giving back to the community through the social services, not those envelopes. The social services. We have some donations that are really authentic, like during times of grief, we have lost somebody. We need to send condolences. We need to those small things. But this business of our leaders going to functions, they go with the sacks of money, and then whoever pleases them gets an envelope. Whoever does this gets an envelope. Is what we are talking about. You know, yes, we could do. We may not necessarily raise the entire budget line, but we are saying even others which look like they are genuine, like fuel. Why would you have a convoy of 80 vehicles accompanying a leader? All that fuel, all the personnel that is on the entourage, and so on and so forth. Those expenditures, if they were just cut by 50%, just 50% like this, some money would be saved. So we are saying that this wasteful expenditure can be reduced. You see, for us, when we, in our alternative budget proposals, an item like human capital development, which in our national budget goes up to 13 trillion. For us, we cut it up to about 9 after we had removed all this wasteful expenditure. Because you see, there are many things you can avoid in these so-called costs that have been put across.
All right, let's move on and look at the allocations. Of course, you saw the key sectors where the money is being allocated.
Yes.
And this brings in the discussion about the tenfold growth strategy, which is directing where the money is going to go. But first, the biggest call on our budget is debt servicing, 33.4 trillion shillings.
Yes.
Yeah. Borrowing.
Yeah, I've already told you that that borrowing, even before you split the whole thing, you have to know that some of that money is just for refinancing. Refinancing is renegotiating loans, and it's not going to have any big effect to the economic development, because you are just digging a hole here to cover another hole there. So that one is one of the other big issues that we have. Then the other one, you remember that most of the money that is going into this is for interest, servicing the loan.
Exactly.
The loans. And now, what does that mean? It means that the principal that we have borrowed remains intact, almost untouched, and therefore we will suffer the same problem.
What do you mean untouched?
You see, when they say you are servicing a loan, you are paying interest basically. And if you borrowed, say, 10 million shillings, and the interest is 20%, the next budget you make, when you talk about debt servicing, you are talking about the 2 million that you are supposed to pay in interest to service that debt. Now, that one doesn't even pain us much, but what is paining us even more are the non-performing loans that we already have. And these non-performing loans are arising out of that reckless or indiscipline, fiscal indiscipline that the government is practicing. Because we have borrowed money, and when our development partners have put a condition of co-funding, and the government has failed to find money to co-fund these projects. And this money that is lying there idle, it cannot be used. It is already committed, we have already signed agreements, is over 100 trillion.
So we have borrowed money, it's already on our account, but the projects are not taking off. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the projects are not taking off. And because we have failed to find, because for them they are saying you can only start using the money, we have provided the money, but you show us what you have as a co-funding,
counterpart funding
agreement as agreed, then you start using the money. Because you cannot find that money, you can't use these funds. But these funds, the commitment fees that you're supposed to pay on it continues to accumulate. And that's how we are suffering with these loans, yet the effect to the economy is minimal.
Spectrum on Radio 1 FM 90. We're going to go for a quick break. When we return, well, thank you so much for staying with us on Spectrum Live on Radio 1 FM 90. Today we are looking at the view of the opposition on the national budget as presented by the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. And my guest is the Honorable Lubowa Gyaviira, the National Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, MP Nyendo Mukungwe constituency. He is from the National Unity Platform Party. Keep your comments coming via the WhatsApp line 0703 090 090. And after this, wave of questions, we'll be looking at some of the comments that you will put across. Now, Honorable, let's look at this issue of debt very quickly. If you were in charge,
yes,
what would you do? Because the argument is that borrowing is not bad entirely. All countries in this world, including the mighty economies, are actually borrowing.
Yes. You're very right, Ken. Borrowing, we are not condemning borrowing per se, but we are condemning the fiscal indiscipline. And you know that you do not have money to spend on some of these items that you are extravagantly displaying here, and then you resort to borrowing. For us, we think that if we worked on the fiscal discipline, if we worked on how much we need, exactly how much we need, you talked about 74, but it's actually, for us, the alternative budget we presented is 71.4. 71.4 trillion.
Okay.
And we are saying that if we stuck to that, then the first thing we would look at is to reduce the borrowing. So if we reduce the borrowing by reducing, if you reduce the expenditure and then you reduce the borrowing, then that burden, the debt financing burden, will gradually fall. And by so doing, maybe within a space of five or so years, we've had countries that have actually done away with debt, like Namibia and those other countries that are now at zero debt.
All right.
For us, we have crossed the line.
You talk about fiscal indiscipline,
yes,
which of course brings in issues of budget performance, corruption, non-performing loans, like you stated. And the government says it now has a solution. All accounting officers will have to sign a charter of fiscal discipline, which requires them to perform or be fired. Isn't that a step in the right direction?
That is good to hear, but I'll tell you that this has been practiced. I was at Makerere as a deputy bursar, and I know that my accounting officer in Makerere was signing an annual performance agreement or performance contract. It's an annual agreement. Maybe what they are saying, they are calling it a charter. Probably they might have.
It sounded like they're going to do it for the first time.
No, they have been signing annual performance contracts. The accounting officers, at least I know that they have been doing it.
How come we have not had anyone being fired?
Probably, they might have added a few things that they now want to display as if it is something new, but it is something that has been around for some time.
For instance,
you haven't had anybody being arrested. Who of these other corrupt officials that you know about has been arrested?
For instance, one of the things they're saying in this charter is that any accounting officer who commits or signs or gives out a contract without confirming the availability of the resources will be personally held liable.
Now, in government, we have what we call the IFMIS system, Integrated Financial Management System. And the reason they brought this was to make sure that you as an accounting officer, you cannot sign any procurement without confirmation of the availability of funds. And therefore, without committing, you cannot commit government without a budget, without funds on the system. And this, I left it at Makere because it was there for about a good number of years now, but still the government itself bypasses this, and they still accumulate domestic arrears. The last time the domestic arrears were verified in 2018, we had about like 4 trillion, and out of this, the authentic domestic arrears were just about 2.6 trillion. But in 2025, when this system was already there, we read that the domestic arrears were now staggering at 13.8 trillion. And out of this, they went and verified, and they told us that the authentic, or what the auditors could prove as authentic or could present as authentic, was about 5 trillion, over 5 trillion. Now, you can imagine that even with the presence of this system and the accounting officers, at least from the ones I've interacted with, you do not have access to really sign beyond the allocated funds.
Are you suggesting that even domestic arrears, which is basically a debt, is also inflated? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, according to the reports, because if the presented accounts are at 13.8 trillion, but when the auditors descend on these documents and verify, they can only find 5-point-something trillion. Then it means probably there are other inflated arrears that are included in the domestic arrears account.
All right, let's move on and now look at the tenfold strategy, because it is the center of this budget. It's where the money is going the most, under the ATMs that you know. What's your take about this particular plan to grow the economy tenfold to $500 billion according to the 4th National Development Plan?
Yes, I don't want to sound so harsh, but I would say this is a bit of a mockery, because when you say that this is your key areas you want to point your expenditure to, and you have the 4 areas that make up the ATMs or the ATMs, agro-industrialization, tourism, mineral development, and then ICT, or something like science and technology. And then you are telling me that out of the 84 trillion, these key sectors, or these key areas where we want to point the money for development, do not even amount to 5 trillion out of 84. Then this must be a joke.
Really?
Yes.
Human capital development, 13.5 trillion. We are seeing considerable allocation.
What are you talking about? I thought you were talking about the ATMs.
The ATMs.
Yes.
Yeah.
The ATMs, agro-industrialization, has 2.2.
Okay, you've gone to analyze the particular allocations to
yes,
to each,
because
sub-item.
Because
okay.
me, I'm looking at this. That human capital development you are talking about, for example, the 13 whatever trillion, it has a component of wages, recurrent expenditure on wages is about 9 trillion. Out of the 13 you are counting there, about 9 trillion goes to wages as a recurrent expenditure. But when we talk about the ATMs that the minister told us he was focusing on, agro-industrialization is about 2.2 trillion. Tourism is about around 484
billion.
Mineral development is about 500 or something there.
All right.
Then
I now understand where you're coming
from. Science and technology is about 1.1 trillion. So if you are saying your focus to turn around the economy is on the ATMs, and out of the 84 national budget that you have read, you cannot even allocate 5 trillion to these focus areas, then it must be a joke. So we are saying that some of these are good to hear as the minister is reading, but practically when you dig deep into what the effect they will have on the economy, you find that it is going to be very, very difficult.
So what would you do? What would you advise the government to do? Because we all want to have a prosperous country.
Yes, we are saying that the government needed to refocus. If we are saying...
Are you saying the choice of the ATMs is wrong?
No, it is not wrong.
Okay.
We are not saying it is wrong. But the allocation on the ATMs is the one that is that is ridiculous.
So where would you pull the money to put it in the ATMs?
I've already told you that there are many wasteful lines or extravagant lines in the expenditure, in the budget, that we can mobilize funds from, and we have some funds reserved for these key areas which we have identified to turn around the economy. And I already hinted on some of them, the donations, the huge expenditure on public administration.
You talked about classified expenditure.
And so many others. When you look through the budget, you find there are those areas that we can either delay or we can reallocate to these key areas which we need to turn around the economy.
All right.
Yes.
Now, very quickly, after the speech was presented,
yes,
President Yoweri Museveni addressed the nation
yes,
to provide strategic direction to the cabinet, to parliament, and the country at large, where they want this budget to go. Yes. Any recollection of what the president said? What excited you? What?
Yeah, not exciting as such, but what touched me, among other things, is the allegation. Do I call it allegation, or that the opposition was one of the problem why implementation of government activities is not being successful.
You are not monitoring projects in your areas.
That we are not monitoring. That
some of you should not even be paid. That was to say.
Yes. I think General Museveni is trying to find excuses for failure of his government. You know that there are people who have been mandated to carry out these activities in the field. There are reports that have come out implicating these people that they haven't done their work properly. They have either involved themselves in corruption, they have mismanaged these projects. Like PDM, for example, reports are everywhere of people who have mismanaged this project that you say it is the key project that you want to turn around the economy. Reports have come out. Reports have come out on Emyoga. Reports have come out on all these government programs. The Auditor General makes reports every other day. Mr. Museveni should be thankful to the opposition instead, because it is the opposition that keeps drumming, keeps making noise about these mismanaged projects, about these officials who are not doing their work, about the reports that have come and have not been acted upon. It is the opposition in Parliament who keep making this noise to save the resources of Ugandans.
But what does it take away? What does it take away from you to go to your constituency, for instance, to go and monitor whether people are partaking money from Emyoga, from PDM? Are you suggesting as a leader you cannot do what?
This is what we are telling you. We have been monitoring. The opposition has been monitoring even more than the NRM ministers.
Is
and
that
whatever.
so?
Yes, that is why for us, when we monitor, we point out the weaknesses. When the NRM monitors, they will just come to praise, because for them it is a political a political aspect.
Actually,
for us, we are saying
it's you people who want the NRM to fail. You want the projects to die out so that you can say the NRM is not performing.
Then the IGG reports, the Auditor General reports wouldn't be coming out like that. Yes, they would be coming out positively, because for us we have come out negative. But even the Auditor General and the IGG reports have come out showing all these negative impacts about these projects in the economy, in the villages, in the parishes where they are carried out.
And how about his position on corruption? Term no sleep.
Yeah, it is, I think, another round of slogan, because that's how it has been. People are asking, this time round, the president was very tough. When was he not tough? He has always been tough. But when it comes to implementation, that's where the whole thing fails. Because now so and so cannot be implicated, so and so is a big fish, so and so is this, and then these ones we have to excuse them, then this one. So the war collapses just within his own hands, because he has intervened in terms of saving the mafia group that is troubling this economy.
All right, we are going to go, but also make your concluding remarks, because we are moving towards the end of this discussion.
I want to thank the callers and those who have sent in messages. Yes, many of them you heard, they were talking about fiscal indiscipline and the debt burden, and then the corruption and all that, those other evils that are being traded by our public officials. But also, we need to remember that sometimes this government is not sensitive to what the population is going through. For example, this levy of raising this tax on Mivumba, for example, from 15% to 30%. Can you imagine? We do not have a factory of producing clothes here in Uganda that we need to protect. At least we don't have those factories in Uganda, but Ugandans, given the status of most of our people here, if you say you want to discourage Mivumba, what do you expect?
You have not seen factories in Mbale? President Yoweri Museveni has been showing us pictures of some factories making clothes.
Making clothes. Where are they? When I go
Mbale
downtown,
Industrial Park.
Listen, when I go downtown, I find the clothes imported from Turkey, from China, from Taiwan, and elsewhere. Where are those? We would have this flooding the entire market, so that and at a reduced cost. You know that they are manufacturing electric vehicles in Ikira. Where are they on the market? We would be having those to replace the other vehicles that are coming from abroad.
They've been going on a test drive. You haven't seen buses? There are buses on the road, electric buses.
I'm telling you that this Chira Motors is almost 20 years here. But we would have a flood of this vehicle. When you go to South Africa, you find that 80% of the vehicles on the road are produced within the country.
Assembled.
Some of them are produced within the country, because for them they have everything. It is not like, again, the Chira of ours, where we just assemble and then the only thing we can produce are angle lines and the sheets. But the rest of the parts are all imported. But we say we are producing vehicles in the country. So, but even then, the government would be subsidizing those to make sure that we now uplift the standards of our people by providing some of these items that were originally imported, and also promoting bubu and providing employment and so on and so forth. So we are saying that the government is sometimes insensitive when you see how it is treating oil without subsidizing. Yet they know that every activity rotates around that. When they see how people are suffering with the faithful landlords and that kind of thing. So I want to end by requesting the people who are implementing these policies and these budgets, our PSST, our Minister of Finance and all that it is time they cut their appetite for borrowing, so that we save Ugandans from this burden that is just skyrocketing and increasing every other day. I told you the approved budget was 72 trillion. By the time we finish the year, it is 81, and most of these additional budgets are from borrowing. So you can imagine. All right. And thank you so much for hosting me, and hope to see you next time.
Thank you so much for creating time to be here.
Thank you.
Dear listener, thank you.